Hi and welcome back to Classic MGB. Now, this video is a bit different. It's all about MGBs as usual, but these MGBs are rather smaller than normal. Yep, that's right, we're looking at model MGBs. Now, it's over 40 years since the full-size MGB went out of production, and as a result, many model MGBs stopped being made at about the same time, so it's a question of trawling internet sites like eBay, specialist sellers at shows, and of course the usual assortment of antique shops that seem to accumulate all sorts. So let's take a look at my small collection of model MGBs. The smallest model in my collection is this tiny Roadster made by Karorama. It's 1/72nd scale, is mounted on a plinth and has a built-in transparent cover. For its size, the detail is impressive, and it also isn't expensive, with examples on eBay for less than £10. Next in size is this Matchbox MGB GT, and it's really more of a toy than a model. And that's apparent when you look at it closely, not much detail and not really representative of the car. On a positive side, they're fairly widely available online and pretty inexpensive. Next we step up to 1/43rd scale and the Dinky models. I've got three of them, a Roadster, a GT and a GT V8. Immediately you can see the level of detail on each is much better than the Matchbox one. The Roadster's finished in cream with a black roof which is not removable, whilst the GT is finished in blue with a Webasto roof. The red V8 has detailed wheels which mimic the full-size car's wheels, but none of the models in this Dinky range have opening doors, boot or bonnet. Now onto the Corgi 1/43rd scale model, and proving my complete geek status, I've actually got three of these as well. The tattiest one I bought at a garden show, believe it or not, and I'm planning to restore it and paint it the same colour as my full-size GT. A much easier job than restoring the full-size car. The one that's in slightly better condition is an original from the late 60s, and I bought it from a specialist retailer at the Classic Restoration Show in Birmingham for around £30. The final pristine model is a reissue made by the Corgi Model Club, and it's remarkably close to the original, even including the small suitcase that's missing from my original. I also have the box for this one. The Corgi models all have opening doors and boots, but bonnets are sealed, presumably to avoid having to detail the engine bay. Corgi also produced a gift set as part of their Vanguards range to mark the 50th anniversary of the MGB. The set, housed in a display case, comprised the first MGB Roadster chassis number 101, finished in iris blue with a removable contrasting soft top, and the last MGB Roadster chassis number 532001 in bronze metallic. The models themselves are less detailed than the other Corgi models and don't include opening doors, boots or bonnets. One really interesting thing is if we compare the Dinky and Corgi models, they're both the same length, but the Corgi version is significantly wider. But which one is closest to the actual car? Answer at the end of the video. Another 1/43rd scale model is this Police MGB, replicating the early MGBs used by the Lancashire police force in the 1960s. Whilst the doors, boot and bonnet don't open, the detailing is impressive, with details like the additional spotlights, the police stop sign on the rear and the tiny wing mirror. Also, this isn't an expensive model. I picked this mint example up at the Bewley Auto Jumble for just over £8, and I've seen examples on eBay for a little over £10. The last of the 1/43rd scale models is this one, based on the MGB Roadster, used in the 1974 Bond movie The Man with the Golden Gun. The car wasn't actually driven by 007 in the film, but by Mary Goodnight, the main Bond girl, played by none other than Britt Ekland. This model is remarkably accurate, with Goodnight and Bond figures, as well as a display cover with background mimicking the film. I guess Bond preferred his Aston Martin though, because in the movie he refers to the MGB as an inverted bedpan. Shame on him. Before we move on to the larger models, we'd just like to thank you for your support and help in growing the channel. As always, we'd love it if you'd subscribe and click on the bell to be notified when new content's uploaded. Right, on to the 1/18th scale models. Not surprisingly, these are considerably more detailed. The first couple were produced by Corgi. This red Roadster, screwed to a removable plinth, has opening doors, boot and bonnet, and the engine bay and interior are impressively detailed. Even the steering wheel works and actually turns the front wheels. Interestingly, the legend on the plinth states this is a 1963 model year car, and the B registration plate suggesting a 1964 registration bears this out. I bought this on eBay recently for around £70. The second Corgi model is almost identical apart from the colour, although it's a limited edition model and comes with a more fancy plinth finished in wood. Plinth also states it's a 1963 model, but interestingly it's had a C registration plate, which suggests a 1965 registration. Why did I buy it when it's so similar to the red one? Well, it's a limited edition and I picked it up at one of the trade stands at the Bangers and Cash show for £30 in its original box. It's actually serial number 8385 of 15,000. I wonder how many others are still around, so if you have one, let us know in the comments. Next up is this GT in UK police livery. The model's made by Universal Hobbies and features an opening bonnet, tailgate and doors. The exterior detailing is particularly notable with fully modelled wipers, air intake and even door mirrors. And the engine bay is nicely modelled too. The police features on the car are clearly visible, with sirens and spotlights on the front, and the blue light on the roof and the stop sign at the rear. Whilst it's more difficult to see with the GT, the interior is impressively detailed. Now, the registration plate on the car suggests it was registered between August 1973 and July 1974, and the Roadster wheels back this up. However, looking at the interior, the geek in me has spotted an anomaly. It's quite difficult to see in this shot, but the interior is clearly based on an earlier car, with the single speaker rather than the full central console, and the radio where the air vents should be. Incidentally, there's also no police-specific detailing inside the car. If you're interested in police MGBs, we've done a video on a real one, and the link is in the description. No collection would be complete without at least one rubber bumper model, and I got this one at Bewley Auto Jumble for about £90. It's another Universal Hobbies model like the police one. The detailing is similarly impressive and it's finished in a suitably garish 70s colour. As with the police model, doors, bonnet and boot all open, the steering works and the interior is nicely detailed. Also, the interior dashboard and centre console appear correct for the model, so I wonder if someone pointed out the error on the police one and they corrected it in the later models. So now on to the pride of my collection, the Auto Art MGB GT. This model is reassuringly expensive and can be quite difficult to track down, but there's usually a couple on eBay, although I had to wait quite a while before finding this one. That said, if you're looking for a fantastic, accurate model of a 1967 MGB GT, then this is the one. Opening the bonnet reveals a fantastically detailed engine bay, whilst opening the doors and tailgate shows a similar attention to detail. Even the underside is fully detailed and includes accurate representations of the engine, gearbox, exhaust and fuel tank. Put simply, it's the best MGB model I've found, and for me, worth every penny of the £200 it cost. So that's it, a whirlwind look at my small MGB collection. It is in fact part of a larger collection of around 400 models of all makes inherited from my father. Now, if you have a model that I haven't covered, which is quite likely, then send me an image or two and I'll make a follow-up video. You never know, I might even make you an offer for the model too. Finally, the battle of the 1/43rd scale models, and I promised to let you know whether the proportions of the Corgi model or Dinky model were the closest to the full-size car. In fact, the Dinky model's proportions are much closer to the full-size car than the Corgi. Not surprisingly, the 1/18th scale models are all correctly proportioned. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed the video, and if so, it'd be great if you give it a like. As always, thanks for watching and take care.